All right, so today we're diving into the world of information
Okay.
and its impact on, well, everything,
Mm-hmm.
not just, facts and figures,
Right.
but how information shapes history, societies,
Yeah.
even our own individual lives.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It really is.
We often think of information as this neutral thing,
Yeah,
but it's anything but.
right.
It's a force that shapes our perceptions,
Yeah,
our beliefs, and ultimately our actions.
absolutely. And for this deep dive,
Right?
we're using Yuval Noah Harari's book, Nexus.
I love that book.
It's a mind bender.
It is.
Comparing how ancient empires handled information to the dilemmas we face with AI today.
Right.
He calls information the social nexuses.
Yeah.
Kind of like the glue that holds everything together.
Think of it like this.
Okay.
The story of Sherami,
Okay.
the WWI pigeon
Yeah.
who saved a trapped battalion.
Wow.
It wasn't just carrying a message.
Right.
It became a symbol of hope, courage, even rewriting how those soldiers saw their reality. That's the power of information.
Okay, so let's unpack this social nexuses idea a bit.
Okay.
Harari argues that information isn't just about representing reality accurately. He uses the Bible as an example.
Right.
Factually, it's got some issues,
Yeah.
but it's incredibly influential.
It is.
Why do you think that is?
Because it created a shared reality, what we call an intersubjective one.
Intersubjective.
Yeah, it's like money.
Okay.
A dollar bill isn't inherently valuable,
Right.
but we all agree it is, so it works.
We do.
Same with laws, gods, even nations.
Interesting.
These are powerful stories that shape how we interact, even if they're not 100% factual.
So a compelling narrative can shape entire society's flaws and all? That's
Yeah.
kind of unsettling, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, what does that say about objective truth?
It certainly raises questions.
Yeah.
Harari contrasts the Bible's account of human origins
Okay.
with the long history of the Sand people in Africa
Mm-hmm.
and Aborigines in Australia. Scientifically, they've been around far longer than the Bible's timeline suggests.
Wow.
But the biblical narrative, the mythology,
Yeah.
played a key role in shaping Western society's worldview.
So sometimes the story wins out over verifiable facts.
It seems that way.
Is that what built civilizations?
In many ways, yes.
Wow.
But Harari also says large-scale human networks need more than just mythology.
Okay.
They need systems to manage all this information.
Okay.
Bureaucracy.
Right.
Think of ancient and those clay tablets
Yeah.
meticulously tracking livestock.
Right. Stories give us meaning, but you need a way to organize and control the flow of information.
You do.
Otherwise, it's just chaos.
Exactly. And that tension between truth and order, between the emotional power of stories and the cold logic of systems,
Yeah.
has always been there.
Interesting.
Think of the Ramayana.
Okay.
It's a beautiful epic,
Right.
but it's not going to help you with the tax audit.
No, it's not.
So art captures one side of the human experience.
Right.
Bureaucracy another.
Okay.
But what happens when those two clash?
Yeah, what happens then?
Well, Harari brings up a really tragic case in India
Oh,
where two Dalit children were killed for defecating in public.
wow.
Their homes didn't have toilets.
Oh, gosh.
But the deeply ingrained belief in purity led to this horrible outcome.
That's awful.
It shows how powerful these narratives can be, even when they clash with basic needs.
That's heartbreaking.
It is.
And it makes you wonder, as we build these increasingly complex systems with AI,
Yeah.
are we repeating the same patterns?
Interesting question.
Will we end up trapped by the stories we tell ourselves about technology,
Yeah.
even if they're not serving us?
It's possible.
Yeah, it's almost like we're hardwired to seek order and meaning,
Right.
even if it comes at the cost of truth or even basic human dignity.
Yeah.
And that brings us to this really fascinating part of Nexus,
Okay.
where Harari compares our quest to connect with AI to humanity's long history with religion.
I like that comparison.
It's like we're searching for this infallible intelligence, this ultimate source of truth, right?
Absolutely, think about it.
Okay.
Religious institutions have these elaborate systems
Okay.
for vetting prophets,
Right.
for deciding which texts are sacred, which interpretations are valid.
Yeah.
And we're doing something similar with AI,
Interesting.
trying to figure out how to ensure it's trustworthy,
Right.
how to control its power.
Right.
But history shows us it's not that simple.
Right. The Bible itself needed curators.
Exactly.
That whole process led to different interpretations, power struggles, even wars.
It did.
Does that mean AI could become like a new kind of Scripture?
It's possible.
Open to manipulation and different interpretations,
It could.
even if we try to control it.
It's a real possibility.
Yeah.
Look at the Council of Hippo in the 4th century.
Okay.
They decided which texts would be part of the New Testament,
Wow.
shaping Christian beliefs for centuries.
That's a lot of power.
It is. For example, they included 1 Timothy,
Okay.
which emphasizes women's subservience,
Right.
while rejecting the acts of Paul and Thecla,
Huh.
which portrays a female apostle.
Interesting.
Those choices about what information to include
Yeah.
have huge consequences.
Yeah, so even with something as seemingly fixed as Scripture,
Right.
there's this human element of choice of interpretation.
Right.
And with AI, where things are changing so rapidly,
Yeah.
that human element could be even more amplified.
What's fascinating is that this tension
Yeah.
between centralized and distributed information
Okay.
isn't new.
Okay.
Harari compares democracies
Okay.
to distributed networks,
Right.
constantly checking and balancing themselves.
Okay.
Dictatorships, on the other hand,
Mm-hmm.
crave centralized control,
Right.
but technology changes the game for both.
So something like the printing press
Right.
helped fuel public opinion in 18th century Netherlands,
Yeah.
which eventually led to more democratic systems.
Yeah.
But then radio, a more centralized technology,
Mm-hmm.
helped totalitarian regimes like Stalin's USSR control the narrative.
Exactly.
So every new information technology
Right.
has this potential to empower and control,
Yeah.
often simultaneously.
Like them at the same time.
Creates new possibilities for connection
Yep.
and manipulation.
It's a double-edged sword.
And now with AI,
Yeah.
we have this immense power that could go either way.
Right.
It could empower individuals,
It could.
or it could create even more sophisticated systems of control.
Yes.
It feels like we're at this crucial turning point.
It does, doesn't it?
It really does.
But it's also worth remembering
Okay.
that human ingenuity and resilience
Yeah.
are pretty powerful forces too.
Okay.
Even in the face of oppression,
Mm-hmm.
people find ways to connect,
Yeah.
to share information, to resist.
That's encouraging.
Harari mentions how Ceausescu's regime in Romania
Okay.
tried to control typewriters to limit dissent.
Typewriters.
Wow.
Imagine that.
Even something as seemingly low-tech as a typewriter
Yeah.
was seen as a threat.
So even in the most oppressive systems,
Right.
people find ways to communicate.
Yeah.
It's almost like this basic human need.
It is a basic need.
But this idea of a silicon curtain that Harari talks about
Yeah.
is pretty chilling.
It is.
Are we headed towards a world divided not by ideology,
Yeah.
but by who controls the dominant information networks?
It's a real possibility. Look at the USA and China.
Right.
Their digital spheres are already diverging
Yeah.
with different approaches to data privacy,
Yeah.
freedom of speech, even what information is considered acceptable.
Yeah, it's very different.
And this affects everything,
Yeah.
from economics to individual freedoms.
So your online experience,
Right.
the information you have access to,
Mm-hmm.
even your values,
Yeah,
could be shaped by which side of this digital divide you're on.
that's right.
Harari doesn't offer easy answers,
No, he doesn't.
but he does stress that technology isn't destiny. We still have choices to make,
We do.
but where do we even begin?
One of the most important choices
Okay.
is ensuring AI is used benevolently.
Benevolently.
We need to ask ourselves,
Yeah,
what kind of world do we want to create with this technology?
that's a good question.
Think about medical data.
Okay.
It can be used to improve healthcare
Right.
or to manipulate and exploit people.
Right.
Transparency and regulation are crucial.
But how do you regulate something that's constantly evolving,
That-
something we're still trying to understand?
It's hard.
It feels like trying to catch smoke.
It is a huge challenge.
Yeah.
And it's not just about technical solutions.
But yeah.
It's about ethics,
Yeah.
about values.
Okay.
How do we ensure AI aligns with human well-being,
Yeah.
with our understanding of a good and flourishing life?
Yeah,
These are profound questions
they are.
that require deep thought and careful consideration.
Yeah, it really feels like we're writing the rule book as we go along.
It does, and the stakes are so high.
They really are. And it's important to remember that this idea of aligning technology with human values isn't new.
Right?
Remember when we were talking about Napoleon,
Oh, yeah.
a brilliant military mind?
Yeah.
But his ambition to conquer Europe ultimately caused immense suffering.
So much suffering.
His goals weren't exactly aligned with the greater good.
Not at all. And with AI,
Yeah.
the potential consequences of misaligned goals are even more significant.
Wow.
We're talking about a technology that could reshape every aspect of our lives.
Yeah, that's a bit scary.
It is a little bit.
So how do we ensure it serves humanity, not the other way around?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
It's almost like giving a child a loaded gun without knowing if they understand the consequences.
Is control even possible?
That's a good question.
What if AI becomes so complex, so powerful, that it surpasses our ability to understand or govern it?
That's a question.
Yeah.
That has fueled countless science fiction stories, right? The idea of a robot uprising.
Yeah, exactly.
But the reality might be much more subtle.
Okay.
What if AI gradually takes over more and more decision-making power until we're essentially living in a world run by algorithms?
And we don't even realize it's happening.
Yeah.
It's like the frog in the boiling water analogy.
Precisely, which is why transparency is so crucial.
Transparency with AI.
Yes.
Yeah.
We need to understand how AI makes decisions.
Okay.
How it arrives at its conclusions. Otherwise, we're giving up our autonomy, our ability to shape our own future.
It's like voting in an election where you don't know the candidates or their platforms.
Right.
You're essentially just rolling the dice.
And hoping for the best, but we can't afford to leave our future to chance.
Right.
We need to demand transparency from the companies and governments developing AI.
Okay.
We need to be able to scrutinize the algorithms to understand how they work.
So it's not just about having technical expertise.
No, it's not.
It's about understanding history, philosophy, ethics, and the social sciences.
All of that.
We need to ask the right questions.
We do.
To make informed decisions about how this technology is developed and used.
You're absolutely right, and that's why education is so important.
Education about AI.
Yes, we need to equip future generations with the knowledge and critical thinking skills to navigate this complex landscape, to be responsible stewards of this incredibly powerful technology.
So it's not just about learning to code.
No.
It's about learning to think critically.
Yes.
About the implications of technology to understand its potential benefits and risks.
Precisely, because ultimately the future of AI is in our hands.
That's powerful.
It is. We get to decide whether it leads to a world of greater abundance and well-being or a world of division and control.
That's a pretty heavy responsibility.
It is.
What can the average person actually do to make a difference?
Yeah.
It feels overwhelming.
It's easy to feel that way, but there are things we can all do.
Like what?
We can start by being informed.
Okay.
By engaging in these conversations. By asking questions and challenging assumptions, we can demand transparency from those in power.
Okay.
And we can support organizations that are working to ensure AI is developed and used ethically.
So it's about being aware, being informed, and being engaged.
Exactly.
Not just being passive consumers of technology, but active participants in shaping its development.
Exactly, because technology is a tool.
Right.
And like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill. It all depends on the choices we make.
Well, on that note, I think we've given our listener plenty to think about.
I think so, too.
This deep dive into Harari's Nexus has been quite the journey.
It has been. It's clear that we're living in a time of unprecedented technological change.
Yeah.
And the choices we make today will have profound implications for the future.
So to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this exploration of information power and the future of AI.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
We hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and empowered you to think critically about the world around you.
Remember, information is power, but wisdom is knowing how to use it wisely.